This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports. You're listening to TGI Sports Talk with your host Keith Angle on Northeast Streaming Sports.
For TGI Sports Talk and our Sunday Stream of Consciousness show right here on Northeast Streaming Sports. Want to thank everybody watching live today on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. We'll be on Roku at 12 to 2 with a replay of the show. Get your Roku devices downloaded, guys. I do a new show at 6 a.m. every morning, 6 to 7 with Mac McGrath, where we talk about everything in sports you can think of. I mean, if you got a sport you want covered, just let us know. Mac does a deep dive, and I've got myself ingrained in some sports that I'm not normally in tune with necessarily as deeply as I've become the last week or so. So that's 6 to 7 every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, which would be Monday through Friday, I could have said, at 6 a.m. only on Roku. It's a Roku exclusive. We're really trying to push the Roku exclusiveness. These shows, though, my shows will continue to be live on Facebook and YouTube because they're driven by you guys and the comments in a lot of cases, especially this show and the Wednesday college football huddle. Even Are You Serious? Driven a lot by your guys' comments, and I want to continue that. And there's no way to do it when you're doing it live on Facebook or Roku, unless we do call-ins, which we could certainly try to do at some point. But we're not live there. My shows are all rebroadcast, which I don't have a problem with. I found some good time slots, I think, for replays of this show, and I like it that way. So anyway, let me say a couple quick good mornings. Only Alan with a good morning so far. I know we got some other people in the room. Feel free to speak up. Good morning, Alan. Bring your topics to the table. A quick shout out today to this week's or today's. I try to do this on every show, and I'm forgetting sometimes on Sundays. I want to give a shout out to some of our groups that really support us. And I got to tell you, there's a great group out there, guys, called America's Pastime, the Love for Baseball. Greg Rawlings is the admin there. 31,000 members, guys. 31,000. Think about that number. That's huge. Greg has done a great job here. He does giveaways. He has signed baseball memorabilia, cards, and such that he collects from ex pro baseball players that have joined the site. He's got hundreds, Jesus, maybe 1,000. I'm not even sure the number of ex professional baseball players on the site, and guys, they participate too. Some of the guys that we've had on this show, like Mike Heath and Greg Pryor, Mike Heath participates a lot on Greg's site here, and he's done a great job. And Greg, if you should be watching this, hopefully you'll check that, and maybe I'll make a note on the. Now I can't get rid of this thing. Bear with me a second. There we go. It's a great site. Anyway, make sure you do check it out. Good morning, Rick Sherlock. How are you today? Beautiful morning. It is a beautiful morning. Rick's down at West Point today. Coach Monken did an interview. You know what? How do we get him on here, Rick? Get his contact information. We'll get him on the college football huddle. Alan's worried about the Mets. Am I worried about the Mets? I'm not a Mets fan, so no, I'm not worried. Do I think the Mets are okay? 2.5 game lead over the Braves, smallest since April 30th. Nobody, not me. Now, we'll get into baseball after we have, before I continue here, we'll have Jim Biringer on to talk a little NHL wrap up and update. We'll also talk a little about the college football landscape. We'll have Jim on Wednesday night. We'll also have Larry Sorensen on, I believe. I've got a tentative okay from Larry to be on Wednesday night and talk about this seismic shift again in the world of college football. We'll talk a little bit, real briefly, with that with Jim Biringer and with Mark Mancini when he comes on at 10:25. So am I worried about the Mets? No. I'm not a Mets fan. I'm not worried about them, and I also think they'll be fine. And because I'm thinking if Jim's popped in this early, Jim's probably got some interesting time, so I'll bring Jim in. Caught him on the phone again.
Amanda's it never stops. It never stops.
Amanda's she's going to say hi in a second, Jim. Just, give her a second.
It has nothing to do with that. She just knows. She just knows.
How are you today, my friend Jim Biringer? How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Lots going on. I don't know if you heard my preamble here. We'll certainly talk and wrap up the Stanley Cup championships with the Avs finally vanquishing the two-time defending champions, and some other hockey news. And I think we'll touch real quick, you and I, and I'd like to get you on the Wednesday college football huddle if you're available to talk deeper. But we'll touch maybe today just briefly with a tease.
Give him a tease. Just only give him a little bit.
About the seismic shift again in college football, it's getting amazing what's going on here. Hang on one second. So Rick's down at West Point watching on Fox and Friends. I'm on Fox and Friends now. That's awesome. Can't believe it. I don't think he means that. And Alan's saying hello to you. And Jim out of the man cave, he says. We're in a little different location.
That's always at a different location. That's it.
You
never know where I'm going.
I think Jim might be in a witness protection program because he's always someplace different when we talk to him. I don't know. So
yeah, it could be witness protection. You never know.
Anyway, listen. So last week we finally have a Stanley Cup champion. We made it before July, which was good, I guess. It's amazing how long the season goes now. But the Avs do vanquish the Lightning. We thought the Lightning had got back into it, and the Avs just kind of shut the door on them there. And you talked about it that in game, I guess when we last talked, we were going to game 6, I think.
Right.
Yep. And you talked about controlling the first 10 minutes, which the Lightning did. And I thought they were in pretty good shape, but that was kind of the end for them that night. So give us your thoughts on that game and the series as a whole, and, where are these teams going from here?
Yeah, I mean, look, give Colorado credit for playing the way they did.
Yeah. You don't think I see you looking over there going, will you put something up and say good morning?
I love it. But also, if people didn't recall from last week, what did I also say? I also said that Tampa Bay cannot continue to play defensively and lean on one goal leads, and that's what happened.
You did.
I mean, look, give credit to Colorado. They wanted it more. They were hungrier. They were the better team. Tampa gets their first goal. Stamkos played great. I think he was the fastest guy for the Lightning the whole series. I think so many guys, you saw the injury list with Kucherov. It went down to McDonough, went down to Nick Paul, went down Jan Ruda, Cirelli, Sergachev. I mean, the list goes on for the Lightning of how many guys got hurt during the Stanley Cup playoffs. Braden Point has a quad tear. I mean, it was ridiculous to see the list of injuries. But Colorado wanted it more. They played better. A good offense always leads to better defense, and that's what they did. They kept the Lightning outside, kept them away from Darcy Kemper because they knew that what their weakness was, and it was Kemper. I mean, good. He played good. He didn't play great, right. But when you see one shot in the first 14 minutes and 25 seconds of the third period, it reminds me of what the Devils used to do all the time with Martin Brodeur between the net. And a lot of looks they had late were not great either. And, again, the difference in the series was power plays to me, special teams. If Tampa is able to convert, maybe it's a different series. I mean, it really wasn't a factor in game 6. I think it was like one power play each, so it really didn't matter. But, they just couldn't get the shots on net. And games 3, 4, 5, I saw them put more pressure on Darcy Kemper and more shoot, and they shot the puck. They didn't do that a lot in the third period when they had chances. I mean, Kucherov rang the pipe early, and then had a couple other chances, but they really didn't get many looks, and that's unfortunate because I think, this team was hungry, and I think they wanted to win, but, Colorado just wanted it more, and that's what, losing does to you. You all the heartbreaks through the second rounds and the will to win, they just wanted it, and you could see that that's how they locked down defensive hockey.
Yeah, they played well, and, a lot of talk now, and I've read a lot of articles this week talking about the Avs and going forward. Are the Avs going to be a dynasty now? Obviously, we need to play more games and see them win at least one more championship. But what are these two teams going to look like going forward? Number one, are the Lightning going to keep it together for another run at this? It's starting to look that way, at least early on. But and are the Avs built for the long haul here and potentially have a run of success?
Yeah, I mean, look, the Avs to me are in a similar position to when the Lightning were when they started their run, when they had their first Stanley Cup final run in 15. The Lightning, they had that group has been together for 6 of 8 conference finals, 4 trips to the Stanley Cup final, so I mean, 2 championships, 2 in 3 years. So they've done a lot, that group together, and they're going to try to continue to keep it. I mean, it's going to be tough. They have to move some money out. Obviously, the rumors are maybe potentially moving a guy like McDonough out because of his salary. And this is the world we live in, and it's the only sport where you can't keep championships teams together because of a salary cap. And, this is getting to the point where we really need to reevaluate what the salary cap purpose is for. Because if you really think there's supposed to be parity, well, there isn't, because the top teams win in the end. Yeah, there's great regular season parity. Okay, Gary Bettman loves that. But you know what? In the playoffs, the best teams win. And you want your better teams to be there. So both teams have to play salary cap gymnastics. If I'm a betting man, I don't think McDonough goes because I think they're like their defense too much. I think they're going to move a guy like Alex Killorn to make Palat and Ruda work, because I think that's what they need to do. Palat's going to have to take a discount. And I think he's been open about it. He wants to be there. I think, they have a nice top line there. So those are some free agents. They can make you move a couple other things. Colorado end is, they have a lot of cap space. So they are able to bring this team back. And it definitely reminds me of this Tampa group. They can go back. They can win multiple championships now. They can make deep runs again with this group. And it's going to be a question. Nate McKinnon's going to need to get paid next year. And the most likely guy, I mean, as much as Joe Sakic wants to make him a priority, I don't think Nazem Kadri's coming back to the Colorado Avalanche. I just don't see it. The salary, what he's worth. He even said it post game, and then later on he said, I know what my worth is. So most likely he's not going to be coming back unless he takes a significant discount to do so. Valerie Nichushkin will definitely back with the Colorado Avalanche. So I have no doubt in my mind that they'll get a deal to work out. Darcy Kemper, their starting goaltender, they'd like to bring him back. But teams that need starting goaltending are going to look to him. But, Joe Sakic has shown he's not afraid to go get somebody else. So imagine if they could bring an actual starting good quality goaltender above Darcy Kemper. This team can make a real run at, potentially doing what the Lightning did with going to 3 straight championship Stanley Cup finals. So, look, both teams have some work to do with the salary cap. It's unfortunate, but you know what? I think Colorado will be okay. I think they'll be back one of the best teams, next year again. They're already the betting line favorite to win a Stanley Cup. So, if I had to bet my money on anything, I think I see Colorado back in the Stanley Cup final over Tampa Bay.
Good call. To Rick's term about comment about dynasties, he's right. I mean, the word gets thrown on a lot, but I disagree a little bit. If the Lightning were to win next year, 3 out of 4 years in my mind is still a dynasty. That's where the line is. 3 in a row is much better, but I think if you win 3 times in 4 years, you are a dynasty in my mind.
Well, to me, I think you see the term dynasty in the National Hockey League is not what it used to be. There's the modern day salary cap dynasty, and then there's what the Islanders did with no salary cap. Right. And this is what I look at it. The Tampa Bay Lightning are the best salary cap era team I've seen. And I mean, they're the modern day salary cap dynasty for what they've done. 3 straight trips to the Stanley Cup final, 2 wins in a row, back to back, 6 of 8 Eastern Conference finals. I mean, I don't know what else you want them to do. I know winning 3 in a row would have definitely put them in a similar territory as, the Islanders of the 80s and the Canadians of the 70s. Now I think they're above Gretzky's Oilers. And if they win again at 3 and 4 years now, who says they can't do what the Oilers did in the 80s? Win 2 in a row, lose, and then win 2 more in a row.
So you definitely put them ahead of the Oilers. That's interesting, just because of the total, different landscape with the salary cap and all that.
I think it's a different landscape to me. I think, Gretzky's Oilers were really good. I mean, look, Steve Smith in '86. I mean, he just put the puck off his, and then it went in. It's unfortunate against the Flames that year. I mean, these teams are so good, but it's different hockey too. And it's a different era. I mean, it's so hard to compare eras because of the salary cap now and what teams have to go through just to keep their teams together.
Yeah. So anyway, that'll be an interesting off season. We got free agency coming up. We got the draft coming up. We got coaching moves. Let's talk quickly about a couple of those topics. And again, before you go, I want to spend a few minutes on the college football situation. But give us an update on some of the coaching situations around the league right now.
So Jim Montgomery was just hired in Boston as the new Boston Bruins head coach. That's a nice move by them. They're going to be able to, go forward with what they want to do. There were other guys, Mark Savard, Jay Leach, David Quinn were all in the running to get that job, but they decided to go with Jim Montgomery. Good on him. He had some past demons he needed to work out when he left Dallas. So good to see him back in the league. Rick Bowness going to Winnipeg. That's a little bit of a head scratcher to me. Again, retread. I'm not sure. I'm really not feeling it. Winnipeg's a good team, but they still have a lot of question marks that they're going to do. Are they going to move out some centers? Mark Scheifele on the move, Blake Wheeler. What about Pierre-Luc Dubois? So there's a lot of question marks with this team. I'm just not sure if Rick Bowness is the guy to get it done unless they look at this as like a transitional coach. Keep him there for a couple of years until they get the guy they want, and then they move on. To me, the retreads, and I would like to see some fresh blood in there in the game right now. What we have going on, with up in Montreal, we've seen a couple other hires where we could get some fresh blood in there. Derek LeBlanc was named Detroit's new head coach. He's the assistant coach under John Cooper from Tampa. Guess who hired him down in Tampa? Yeah, it was Steve Eisenman. So he has a nice connection there. So he's trying to do what he did in Tampa Bay. So the Wings are going to be a better. He's a good coach. So a little bit of fresh blood, but some retreads in there. I'd like to definitely see some more. But hey, look, you know what? The coaching carousel's still moving. The goalie carousel's moving, and free agency and the draft right around the corner.
What I know you had an article, and by the way, I didn't mention it at the top. Sorry, Jim surprised me when he's here so early. But Jim's obviously with Fullpresshockey.com and The Last Word on hockey on the Mad Radio Network. I know your most recent article was about free agency and the top free agents. What should we look for? And what would be what would be a move that would really shake up the league if it were to happen? And I guess what's the most likely scenarios for some of the better top free agents?
So we have, you have obviously Johnny Gaudreau, New Jersey boy. He, is with the Calgary Flames. He's a free agent. There's been offers on the table 8 years, around $9.5 million. He hasn't decided if he's going to sign it yet. Maybe wants to test the free agent water, see what else is out there. Him moving on would be not much of a shakeup, but it'd be a likely scenario that he maybe goes to Philly, New Jersey, teams like that on the East Coast. Does he want to be located there? What would shock me is like a team like Seattle just comes in, throws some money at him, and he's like, "Oh, I want to go there." Seattle's probably going to be busy. No, he's too busy partying on the weekend.
We'll give Trotz a break for a week here.
Philip Forsberg, if he leaves Nashville, that'd be kind of a shakeup because he's been there for a long time. Obviously, he was part of that deal that sent Mark Erat to Washington for Philip Forsberg. What a trade that was. And I think he wants to stay. I think both parties want to get it done, but the money issue is an issue there for both of them. What would surprise me is if like Andre Palat couldn't get something done with the Lightning. I think both parties again want to get something done, but again, it's the salary cap world, as I talked about before. It's really tough when it's only going up by $1 million. So there's going to be some buyouts. I think, Pittsburgh is going to be an interesting situation. I have two guys with Evgeny Malkin and Chris Letang. I think they only can bring one back. As much as they want to bring both back, I think Malkin's days in Pittsburgh are done, and I think it's the end of an era there. Regardless, even if one comes back, I just don't think, Pittsburgh going to be the same team down the middle. Malkin, a high dynamic player, but he hasn't really gotten it done in the playoffs lately. So injury prone, yeah, he's still a point a game player, but somebody's going to throw a boatload of money at him. Maybe, somebody north of the border is going to throw some money at Letang too from Montreal. So who knows what happens there. Evander Kane's a situation you're going to want to watch too, because, he gets bought out, contract gets terminated by San Jose. That grievance is still going on. Signs with signs with Edmonton. He's playing well there. Does anybody else want to sniff him with his baggage? It feels like Edmonton's a good fit with him. Let's see what kind of money he gets after having a good season there. The goalie carousel, like I said, with Kemper, with Jack Campbell's a big name. Does Toronto bring him back? Where does he go? Ville Husso's another name. John Klingberg again. So there's so many big names out there. Let's see what Seattle does. Are they going to throw money at players because they messed up? They're going to try to fix what they didn't do with the expansion draft last year. What big trades are we going to have? We saw Kevin Fiala go to LA, signs a new 7-year deal at 7.9. So, I mean, the market's being set here for some players here. And again, the GMs I continuously see GMs make the same mistakes that they're going to regret in 3 years when they want to buy out contracts because they overpay guys for having good seasons. Now, I think Fiala's a great fit in LA, but, we'll see. We'll see by the time that contract comes. So, a lot of names out there. Feels like the Rangers have some work to do down the middle with Kopp and Ryan Strome. So, we'll see what's going on there.
As far as the Rangers go, is there a guy there that you would say they just cannot afford to let walk away?
I mean, I would personally say Andrew Kopp's that guy. I think he was such a great addition at the trade deadline. I mean, what you gave up to get him, and now you're interested in Pierre-Luc Dubois too. I mean, you would have just might as well have just traded for that player then, and you would have had, still a year left on his deal, and you could have renegotiated with him now instead of letting him go to free agency. So, I mean, if you're going to try to get Pierre-Luc Dubois, you might as well just wait till he tests the free agent market instead of trying to trade for him. I know, teams need goaltending. Will Alexander Georgiev get traded? So, keep an eye on Kakko. There looks like a bridge deal is coming down the road soon. So that'll be good for him. So many players out there. Nick Paul just re-signed down in Tampa for 7 years. It's a good deal for both parties. He's just so, part of that third line. A lot of players out there, a lot of movement going to happen.
We talk about goalies a lot, and this thought crossed my mind the other day with the speed of the game today, and how good an athlete. Athletes are better in all sports, right? And they're better than in the NHL than they were 30 years ago. Obviously, is the importance of having that just stopper at goalie, like Valesky and Igor. I mean, is that the most important position on a team today? The way these guys are so good, so fast, shoot the puck harder than ever. Is that the most important position on a team or not?
I mean, to me, they always say build from the net out. So you want to have a good goalie, one stud defenseman, and a number one center. So that's what they've been doing for years. And look, Colorado showed that with two guys, they were able to win 6+ games and win the Stanley Cup, similar to what like Marc-Andre Fleury did and Matt Murray did during the Penguins runs to back-to-back cups. You need a second goalie because I think without Pavel Francouz, I don't even think the Colorado Avalanche get as far as they do because he was very integral. But, some teams have stalwarts like Vasilevsky and Igor Shesterkin, but you always need that good backup that can come in and play 20 games, 25 games in a regular season because your goalie ain't playing 82 games.
Very good point. And I guess my last point on the NHL, and I'll ask you if you got anything you want to add, obviously, but we got the draft coming up here, I think this coming week, right?
Yeah, Thursday, Friday in Montreal.
What should we be looking for there? Anything that you would have us look for, or surprises, or who's the number one pick?
Well, I mean, look, there's a heavily debate about who's going number one. Is it going to be Shane Wright? Is it going to be Slavkovsky, the kid from Slovakia who tore up the Olympics, tore up the World Championships, really good scorer. There's a lot of smoke. I think if I'm the Canadians, I'm taking Shane Wright. I mean, there's a lot of talk about, can the Devils and Canadians flip picks so the Devils can get Slavkovsky number one? If I'm Montreal, I'm taking the center all day. It's not even a question. Shane Wright's going to be a good player. All these guys are going to be good players. It's not like they're going to be franchise-changing players or generational talents. I mean, again, we're a generational player. You're a franchise player. And let's not just look at the first round. There's going to be guys in the second and through seventh round that they're going to make impacts like, Palat and Kucherov were late round picks, what Detroit did with Zetterberg and Datsuk with their late round picks. Like, you can find some gems in the later rounds of the draft. It's just not all about the first round.
Right.
And there's going to be some trades going on, no doubt. I think teams are going to try and clear some cap space before free agency starts. So it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, look, Devils are in a nice position at 2 because, the pick is available. So they could maybe potentially trade the pick to a team that maybe they could get a good player with, maybe like Chicago for an Alex DeBrincat. Maybe you get there's only a couple of guys I would trade that pick for. DeBrincat be one. If Montreal is really considering switching down, I don't care. It's just pick for pick. I'm taking Caulfield out of it because if you really want the guy you really want, then you're going to have to give me something for him. I think the Devils, it doesn't matter who they take, Cooley, Slavkovsky, who's ever there. I think they're going to get the best player available at that position. And if it's a center, it's a center. Colorado's done it before in the past. Look, they took Nathan McKinnon when they already had 2 centers on the team. So you never have enough center depth. It's really good to have. Look, again, just keep your eyes out on the later rounds, see who gets moved. Could be some deals, and then you move into free agency. So, look, a lot of these kids may not make the league next year.
Yeah.
Slavkovsky most likely will, but out of that, a lot of these guys may go back to junior or play some developmental leagues because you may not be ready.
And where can we watch the draft live?
I believe ESPN's carrying the draft.
Okay, good. It's funny. Every major sport now is certainly trying to copy the NFL model and get that bang out of their draft. And I think most of the leagues have done a pretty good job of it. The Major League Baseball draft was never that big a deal, and they've done a decent job of copying the NFL. I think the NHL does a good job as well.
Yeah, the NHL draft is pretty good because there's always so much intrigue in the first round. The later rounds are just like whatever.
Well, before we switch gears to a little tease for Wednesday night, what else? Is there anything else that we haven't touched on today that you'd like the fans to know about the NHL or anything else going on in your world?
I mean, revenue's up. I mean, league's in a good position. Stanley Cup Playoffs have been really good, rated one of the highest Stanley Cup finals in a long time, thanks to ABC. They did a good job, TNT. So, ratings are up. The bonanza happened. So, good ratings. So, I mean, look, get leagues in good shape. Now let's just get the salary cap up.
Gotcha. Well, I promised this. So again, we're going to have Jim on Wednesday night on the College Football Huddle, and I plan on having Larry Sorensen pop in probably after that. So we're going to spend a lot of time probably Wednesday on this topic. The bombshell that hit, I guess it was Thursday. I've lost track of the days this week because I've been off for a bit.
Yeah, it was Thursday. Yeah,
Thursday. The USC and UCLA are moving to the Big Ten. In fact, I think Jim might have broke this news to me, if I'm not mistaken.
I did.
As I was busy doing some yard work, so I did not see it. But they're going to be moving in 2024. Further, in my mind, set the landscape ablaze in college, not just college football, but this is huge for college basketball, obviously, when you're talking about a team with the history of the UCLA Bruins, maybe not, recently, but certainly historically, which Carlos, who's not here to defend himself because he's riding a roller coaster right now or something, thinks history doesn't matter. I do. I think history matters a lot, and we're losing a lot of our history and our traditional regional rivalries as we talked about previously with all of this realignment. And I just think it's bad for the sport overall. It's great for TV right now, but in the long run, I think they'll be very sorry what happens here because we're heading towards 2 super conferences of 2024 teams from the looks of it. And it's just a matter of how soon we get there. What are your thoughts, quick, Jim? And we'll dive deeper into it on Wednesday night.
To me, it makes no sense. I mean, look, you want to join the Big Ten, that's great, but you're out in California. So now the Big Ten reaches from New Jersey to California. Crazy. Because we have Rutgers and then we have UCLA and USC. Okay, USC and UCLA are great. Good. Look, we know what it's about. 2 teams, 2 conferences, Big Ten, SEC, all they want to do is be in the championship, the playoff. The playoff has created this mess. It's because nobody else can get in, but yet they all care about the playoff to get to be in these conferences and the money and all this stuff. But when they don't make the playoff, the players are like, we don't want to play and we want to sit out.
Right.
So you can't have it both ways. It's either you're in or you're out. And to me, I just don't I don't like it. We're headed to the rivalries are gone. Everything's gone. We're losing what we wanted. And I think a lot of the teams that are in these conferences right now, these smaller schools that are going to get beat up constantly, should really reconsider joining their old conferences and go backwards and make those divisions and those conferences a lot more competitive so we can watch some good football, because it's just going to be beat down city every week.
It's funny. It's what do you got here? To appease people who want to see USC and Ohio State play more often. Well, all they need to do is in the old days, all they would need to do is win their respective conferences. They'd play every year in the Rose Bowl.
Right. They play in the Rose Bowl. And how's this going to affect the bowl games, especially the Rose Bowl, because it's the Pac-12 and the Big Ten all the time.
Rose Bowl is quite possibly a big loser here, because they were one of the big problems with expanding the playoff, because they were demanding to keep, their affiliations that they had and keep the time slot that they had on New Year's Day. And now the Rose Bowl may have put themselves in a bad spot. Although I did read an article that, they may become part of like they may become part of this whole playoff eventually and be the final destination for the championship game at some point down the road. But
I would personally every year to me, I know they want to move it around for money, but for me, put the championship game in Pasadena every year. I have no problem with that.
That's a non-power teams get automatic bids, only conference. Listen, I've said this for a long time, Neil. We'll dive more into this, Neil. Make sure you're here Wednesday night, because I don't want to spend a ton of time on this today because we got a lot of other stuff to cover.
But real quick, Neil, how are they going to get automatic bids when you have two super conferences of 24 teams that are vying for every spot in the playoff?
Well, no, it would have to be back to where you are, And by the way, the thing I was going to get sued for when I talked about the 16-team playoff, and every conference championship gets an automatic bye, which is kind of what Neil's referring to. The more we see this stuff happening, Neil, it's irrelevant, because you're not going to have enough conferences. Well, I guess you still could.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter, because two super conferences, everybody's going to want to be in. And watch for the ACC to make a big push for Notre Dame. I'm telling you this right now. If they can get Notre Dame, the ACC stays relevant.
The only way the ACC survives is if they get Notre Dame, because the ACC
and Notre Dame can't survive being an independent anymore.
Agreed.
They cannot be.
But I guarantee you the Big Ten will make a big push towards Notre Dame as well.
Absolutely, they will.
That'll make a big push. And right now, and this will be our last part on this. We'll pick it up on Wednesday night. The ACC, the Big 12, the Pac-12 are in big trouble, and the team in the conference in the most immediate trouble is probably the Mountain West, because they're about to get raided by the Pac-12.
They are.
Unless and here's the other thing. Just this alliance that they started last year with the Pac-12. I'm sorry. Yeah, who was it? The Pac-12. Who was it? Big 12, Big 10, and the ACC was worthless, because the Big 10 the whole time was working behind the backs of all these guys to do exactly what they were put together not to do. So
exactly,
there's a lot more to dive into, and we'll do that on Wednesday night. And I'll get a couple comments here real quick before we go out, but we're going to wrap this up quick. The whole thing's a big, absolutely, everything's about money. Kenny says all the time, it's all about money. ACC has Notre Dame in all but basketball. That would change, I guarantee you, if they were to join the Big Ten. This is a huge thing, and we'll talk to Larry Sorensen about this as well on Wednesday. And Rick says, have a great 4th of July.
Have a great 4th. All right, you guys have a great 4th. We'll end it right there then.
You enjoy, Jim. Enjoy the holiday, and I hope the weather's good. It's great up here. It's going to be a great couple of days, and we'll see you on Wednesday. I'll send you the invite, and come right in. Just after the top of the hour, come in Wednesday.
All right, we'll see you then. Have a good 4th of July, everybody.
A 7 o'clock hour, by the way. Thank you. All right, talk to you later.
Sounds good. Talk to you later. Have a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Have a good one.
All right. The great Jim Biringer from Fullpresshockey.com. How come all of a sudden my head is so big? I'm so close. Oh, my God. How come I got so close here? Back it up, Keith. Back it up. You're going to scare people. All right. When I have it like this, I can't see the comments. So anyway, great Jim Biringer from Fullpresshockey.com. Also the last word on hockey on the Mad Radio Network. And always brings it. He's got great stuff on college football, and we'll start including him more and more on Wednesday nights as well. So great job there. out of Jim Biringer as always. We're going to jump to Major League Baseball in just a second, but before I do that, let me play a quick promo for the Dream Ride experience. Guys, Northeast Streaming Sports is heavily promoting this year. August 20, or you'll see it on the screen here when it comes up. The weekend, I think, of the 26th, 27th, and 28th. If I have it wrong, you'll see it on the screen. But we'll be there doing live shows. I'm going to try to get down there on Wednesday. Yeah, I'll go there Wednesday when there'll be nobody there on Saturday, but we'll see how that goes. But let me play this for you, and then we'll be right back with some baseball talk.
The Hometown Foundation is excited to bring back the Dream Ride experience, August 26th to the 28th at Connecticut's Farmington Polo Club. Join us in celebrating the accomplishments of our Dream Riders while enjoying live music, a car and motorcycle show, family fun zone, pet adoptions, canine demonstrations, the Fireman's Chili Cook-Off, and much, much more. Get your tickets today.
All right, guys, some good stuff. You get a chance. Great. It's a great cause. And if you can't get there, go to the website, check it out. Also, check out the Wish Fest in Amsterdam, New York, coming up on July 9th. They do a great job of fundraising. There'll be a whole music festival there that day. And another great cause if you want to participate in that. So let's take a look around Major League Baseball real quick. Lots of stories to talk about. Yankees continue their strong I got one touchscreen and one that's not, and I never seem to know which one I'm going after here. So I apologize. Where's my standings? Real quick around the league. Hopefully Drew's with us today. I know we got a lot to talk about. I want to jump into the whole Freddie Freeman thing. I want to jump into a lot of stuff. There's Drew. Good morning, Drew. Great to have you. 4 straight homers for the Cardinals. Absolutely great point. Didn't the Cardinals also set a record this week for first inning home runs? What was that all about, Drew? Help me out here. I know I saw it in the post. You just check something real quick while you guys are talking amongst yourselves. Cardinals on a roll this week, by the way. Drew will help me out here. He's my baseball guru. I know I saw it in the stories yesterday, and I just never clicked on it. And now I don't see it. I know the Cardinals were on the verge of a Major League Baseball record with home runs in consecutive games in the first inning, I believe. So it'll be very interesting to see how that worked out. Maybe Drew's got some information for us on that. Didn't know that Daryl Johnson was the UFL's VP of football operations. Anything that gets him, are we talking about Daryl Johnston, the former Cowboy, Rick? Because anything that gets him off the airwaves would be good for me. Yeah, that's what I thought. Oh, right. I got you now. Doing that in the first inning was a record. Thank you for clarifying that, Drew. Good morning to our baseball guru, Drew Ehrlich. Good morning, as I said. Happened only 11 times in baseball history, 4 home runs in a row. Yes, and I think, as Drew pointed out, I believe the first time ever in the first inning. So good stuff there. Take a quick look around the standings, and then I want to talk. Here's the things I want to get into, and you guys can talk about anything you want. We're going to dive a little bit into Bobby Bonilla Day. We'll dive into the All-Star voting as we've finished the first portion of it, and now we're down to 2 finalists. If you're unaware, there's this. I think this took place. This change took place either last year or the year before. Where there's an initial stage of voting, then a secondary stage of voting, and then so there's 2 finalists. Judge and Acuna from Atlanta are automatic starters, as they were the top vote getters in both in the league, in their respective leagues, the American and the National League, obviously. Around baseball a little bit, the Yankees continue to roll, beating up on the Guardians yesterday. The Guardians, I said it right. Look at that. Rolling over the Guardians in a doubleheader yesterday. Nasty Nestor picks up another win. He's going to be in line for potential all-star consideration. And the Yankees continue to roll. And I apologize because I can't see a damn thing right now. The sun came out at the wrong time, and I didn't do anything about it. The Yankees continue to roll with a 14-game lead over Boston. I'm sorry, Toronto's now in second place by half a game over Boston. it looks like Boston, the Blue Jays, and the Rays. The Rays, who are really a big disappointment, continue to not hit the fall. To me, I'll be honest with you, with their batting average, and I think they've got fewer runs scored than all but maybe 3 or 4 teams in all of baseball. It's amazing to me that they're able to continue to win games. I'm probably going to put this umbrella back, but check my umbrellas, Drew. By the way, I am safe from being engulfed in fire. I'm outside with my umbrellas. But thank you for that heads up. So again, the Rays are probably going to have all they can do they'll probably make the playoffs, especially with the expanded playoffs. And now we got an NHL and NBA situation where most of the teams make it. It's another conversation we're going to have about expansion later on, by the way. Also, by the way, the Orioles, I got to tell you, the Orioles are going to be sellers here in a little bit, but the Orioles have played really scrappy baseball. I know they've run into a little bit of a downturn with 4 losses in a row, but this team, and their managers always listed as the guys on the hot seat, but this team is scrappy and comes out every night trying to win. They got some good players, and some of those good players are going to be gone, like Trey Mancini, who's one of the best stories in baseball. Cedric Mullen, I think he'll have to get overwhelmed for, but the Orioles have played some scrappy baseball. So when you think about how far they are behind the other teams payroll-wise and the way the organizations are run, I think they've done a good job. Obviously, in the Central, the Twins have righted the ship a bit, going 6-4 in their last 10. Still kind of going back and forth with the team formerly known as the Indians. And obviously a big disappointment there is Chicago. And don't be surprised if Chicago starts to move some players, unless they get back in this race really quickly in the next few weeks, maybe before the All-Star game, let's say. This team could be in big trouble. Hang on, because I can't. Funny part is I can't read it. Mets love giving up the long ball for some reason. Works for me. Texas did play the Mets this weekend, and I think you got 1 win though. Maybe it was more. Took down number 1 last week in fantasy baseball. Listen, fantasy baseball. I got to see. Do I have a chance? I actually have a chance, by the way, to win my first series of the season. I have not won a series all year. And I'm behind again now, 11-8. So listen, baseball season's over for me. When it comes to fantasy, I will continue to do my part to be competitive because that's what you sign up for. But good job, Rick. I am throwing in the chips here. Yankees record is the second best ever after 79 games. Good point there, Drew. But here's the thing. I don't know what the Yankees pace is. It's still close to winning 118 games in a record. But again, as I've talked about the last couple of weeks, I mean, they still have an Astros problem. They did come back and salvage the last game of the series they played. I guess it was last weekend. But listen, they got no hit, 52 consecutive batters. This team still has too many holes. Joey Gallo has been a black hole again this week. Everybody gets excited every time Gallo hits a couple home runs, which, by the way, he's still only got less than 10. This black hole's got to go away. Brian Reynolds, who we're going to talk about later on with Mark Mancini, who I know he'll say that the Pirates will not trade him. I think there's a possibility they will. And it is something to keep our eye on as we get closer to the All-Star break. Brian Reynolds would fit this team perfectly. A lot of talk about Ben and Teddy. I can't say his name. Without seeing it, I can't say it. Out of Kansas City. Drew will correct me, I'm sure. And he fits the team because I don't think they need a power hitter out there. I think they need a guy to put the ball in play some good defense, and I think that would be very useful. I'm going to get to your guys' comments before I go any further. We'll talk about Rob Manfred in a little bit. Let me get through this, Alan. But what a ridiculous notion to think this league should go to 32 teams. And I'll talk about it in a second. Orioles pitching has been a shocker. They do have some very successful young starters, and those are the guys that they're going to keep. But there's some guys that they're probably going to move, and fans will not be too happy when they see Trey Mancini leave town, and probably a couple other guys. Hopefully, and for their sake, it won't be Cedric Mullins. And the Mets, by the way, very interested in Trey Mancini. Not sure where they would play him. They might DH him. He plays first base mostly now. He can play third base. And the Mets certainly are not getting production out of third base maybe that they would like. So that could be true. Did I win week 4? Thank you for pointing that out, Drew. When you win one out of, I don't know, how many weeks have we had so far? April, May, June, July. It's at least 12 weeks. So 1 out of 12. That's really good. That'll get me a long ways in life. Johnny Daniels has stated that he feels that the veterans will likely stay in Texas, so probably not going to be sellers. I think listen, Texas is one of those teams I think that could be buyers and sellers, Alan. So, and by the way, sometimes that works. Don't forget, again, I bring this up all the time. The Yankees were sellers in, 2015. The year might escape me. The year they brought up Judge, the year they brought up Sanchez, the year they brought up Tyler Austin, and they all performed well. They were sellers, and they got better after the trading deadline with the kids playing and whatnot. And listen, Texas is set up pretty good. Like I said, I told Alan last night, he was kidding me about Joey Gallo. I don't remember what it was. Something about Tony Gwynn having struck out less than an entire season than Gallo struck out so far, or maybe this week. But, you win that trade. If those guys all stink and never amount to anything, you guys won this trade. Right now, everyone has an Astros problem. Yes, the Astros are playing some great baseball. And I have said for a long time, the Astros are a great team. It's unfortunate in my mind that this stupid sign stealing deal is going to follow them around forever when they're doing nothing except taking maybe to another level what everybody does. Everybody does it. Everybody tries to steal signs. And they go to great lengths to do it. You go all the way back to, I could go back further than this. You go all the way back to the Bobby Thompson home run. Ralph Branco said until his dying day that the Giants were stealing signals with guys with binoculars in the stand. So this isn't anything new. I'll never be able to say this freaking guy's name. Change his name to Smith. Astros pitching core is possibly the best right now. Listen, they got starters, they got relievers. They got position players who put the ball in play and are really good situational players, and they can hit the ball out of the ballpark, especially in that bandbox they play in Boston, in Houston. And they're doing all this with Bregman really not producing his normal standard. So listen, this is a really good team. There's Carlos just off the roller coaster down at Disney World. I hope you're not throwing up anywhere. JD Davis should be on the block. JD Davis stinks, by the way. 11 weeks in fantasy. I kid. Thank God, Drew. Can I be as bad as I want to be after this week? Is this week included in that, or you're talking about completed weeks? So I'll be 1 for 12 after this week. My worst ever. I was going to put a post up the other day. My worst ever showing in any fantasy league I've ever been in. I've been playing fantasy baseball since 1987. Ugh. That should bring up Brito. They're, look at, I don't think the Mets are going to go with kids. There are kids that they can bring up to give them some power. Dom Smith's back, but I think Dom Smith might be back to showcase and get traded. Well, there you go. Duggar for Texas. Mets should, look at, again, I just think the Mets are going outside the organization. I really do. It's a team built to win now. You can't rely on kids because you don't know what they're going to do when you bring them up. Not when you're in contention. What I talked about with the Yankees and being sellers and playing better by bringing the kids up, they weren't in contention for anything. They got into contention with the kids, but that was totally not by design. They didn't trade these guys and bring up the kids thinking they'd help them win. I don't care who wants them. I want them gone. I don't care if I got to sit them on the bench. I don't care if I got to buy out their contracts. To New York Yankees, eat the money, go over the salary cap. I don't care. Get me Brian Reynolds. Get me Marte. Get me somebody. And, by the way, let me see something. Put Miguel, I've been saying this for weeks now, guys. Weeks. Not just yesterday. Put Andujar out in left field and let him play. Bring in Reynolds to play center field. Let's see. How'd my boy do yesterday? Andujar. Can't read too good, so maybe I should have asked somebody to probably look this up for me. Andujar. 1 for 5 in the first game. Not so great. Hitting 281. 261, excuse me. And he's tearing it up in the minor leagues, guys. You see what he did in the second game real quick. Yankees should not need to bring in more than one outfielder. They should put Andujar out there and let him play. 0 for 3 in the second game. So not a great day yesterday. Probably getting sent back out today. But look this is not a bad baseball team. This is a really good baseball team. I'm not bringing up kids to fill up positions here either. I don't know. Carlos is off the coaster. Alan, Perez has been the highlight of the season. You got to bring up a few other teams besides Texas. 7-2. Here's the thing you got to remember. I think Perez, what is Perez? He's over 30 years old. And he's a guy, and I don't know what his contract situation is, Alan. But if he were a free agent, this is a guy they could trade. And they could bring back in free agency if they love him that much. Happens a lot today. The Yankees did it with Chapman. And there's other examples that just aren't coming to my mind anymore. It may happen with Contreras. Chicago may want to keep Contreras. They can't settle on a contract, but they may trade him, and he could come back in free agency. There's nothing to say you can't re-sign guys, and it happens more than you think. But Perez has been very good, and there'll be contenders trying. And if you can get a good haul of prospects for him, make the trade. You're not winning this year. And then you bring him back. 1 year, $4 million. He wants to stay. So he's going to be a free agent. I believe you're not. You're telling me he's only on a 1 year contract for $4 billion. He'll be a free agent. If you're the Rangers and you're smart, you trade him and then go after him in free agency if you want him back. And he wants to stay. Good pitcher. Good pitcher. What else is going around? Where did I leave off? Central? We can move on from that. We started to talk about the Astros. Yes, the Astros are just setting the world on fire. Playing some great baseball. Dusty Baker's a great manager. Dusty needs a World Series. If the Yankees can't win, and this is blasphemous, I'm sure, to the rest of my Yankee brethren, I'll be rooting for the Astros. I want Dusty Baker to win a World Series. I want Dusty Baker to be in a Hall of Fame where he probably already belongs, by the way. So, again, I don't know. I should have put down my umbrella here, but I don't want to stand up and give you guys a bad view here. He's only making $1 million on the... Well, whatever. Trade him. They didn't expect him to perform this good. Nobody expected him to perform that good, for sure. Already talks of deals being put together. Again, as I said, smart management would move him and look to bring him back. Whatever. I don't care about the money. I really don't think it matters. So I don't think that really matters, to be honest with you. Who's his agent? Don't know. And it's irrelevant as far as I'm concerned. I can't read a damn thing off that page, so we're going to be moving off of that probably. Where else let me bring it up here because this is just getting annoying as hell, this other this other screen I'm trying to work off of. I cannot see it all. So let's move to the American League East. We talked about the Mets and the Mets lead dwindling, but it is still 2.5. Look at if you are a Met fan in April. Drew, you're a Met fan. Carlos, you pretend to be a Met fan. I'm not sure if you are or not. If I told you before the season started, you were going to play you're going to play the entire first half without DeGrom. You were going to play the majority of the first half without Scherzer. Some of the guys you brought in were not going to perform up necessarily to expectations. Catcher was still going to be a bit of an issue. And then I said, you'll be in first place on July 3rd by 2.5 games. You probably would have said I'm crazy, first of all. Then you would have said I'll sign up for that right now. The Braves are playing better baseball than they played at this time last year. They're making their move sooner, which they probably need to do. The Braves probably are a bit better team than the Mets overall. They got a good manager who will manage by his gut here and there, by the way, a little similar to one Buck Showalter. I think this is going to be a great race. And don't forget, the Mets, if they don't make any moves, which they will, they're going to bring in a bat for sure. They're probably going to bring in an arm. If they did nothing, they're getting two of the best pitchers in baseball back after the All-Star break at some point. Scherzer should be back here maybe by the All-Star break. DeGrom's getting his first rehab start this week. He'll be starting to work his way back. They hope to get 10, 12 starts out of him and have him ready for the playoffs. If that's all they did, that's still a pretty good addition to your roster here at playoff time. Let me get somewhere. I hope I don't miss any comments. We're still talking about Perez. He'll likely be an all-star. He could be. Who does pitch more than 5 or 6 innings except the top pitchers in the league, Carlos? If he's getting traded to a contender who likely isn't going to need him for more than 5 or 6 innings. Nobody's trading for him to be their number one starter. And, one of my gripes, and I'm not blaming Perez for this, I'm blaming the teams. Perez could go to the Astros, so he would make a great addition there. Look at whatever. I mean, Dusty's had some bad breaks. It's not Dusty's fault the Cubs lost to the Marlins in the National League playoffs when Steve Bartman, they had a game in hand. That's not Dusty Baker's fault. Name me one thing Dusty Baker did that you think cost his teams to lose pennants. I agree. And by the way, I'll make you an argument that Marty Schottenheimer deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I know he didn't win. He didn't have the best teams either. Tell me one time Marty Schottenheimer had one of the top 5 quarterbacks in football. One time. He won with some teams that were not all that good. Drew, I follow the Mets, but just as an overall baseball fan, really. I know you follow. You're a Met fan. Come on. I am. Look at Carlos. You're funny. When I want to go to history, you tell me history doesn't matter. When I'm telling you history doesn't matter, in this case with the Mets, you want to bring up history. It's amazing how you can flip-flop on certain things. History doesn't matter. This year, in this context, whatever happened before this year does not matter. These players, some of them were part of the collapse last year, but they also had a manager who didn't have a strong hand and wasn't able to keep them on track. All right, well, we'll see. Listen, I'm not a Met fan. I don't want to sit here defending them all day. But it's amazing. It's just like the Jets. It's amazing how Met fans, the problem with the Mets in my mind is Met fans. You wait for bad things to happen. Same with the Jets. You can't appreciate what you got. And you got the best record in the National League, by the way. Best record in the National League. And all those things I just told you, if I told you before the season, you would say, oh, they're the Mets and just wait, they'll blow it. So Bassett went down. So they got another injury. They've played through everything they've had in front of them. Next man up. They had one bad stretch in Houston, and then probably through LA as well. But there's no reason to think this team won't be better in the second half, even without any moves. I do not want to see the ground again. Well, Carlos, you just told me that's by the way, September is not enough time to get these teams ready for playoff. These guys ready for playoff baseball. It's just not enough time. Bassett was supposed to pitch game one of the Ranger series, but was scratched. Yeah, I know he's hurt. I knew these guys were not going to pitch a full season. What time we got, by the way? I want to get to a couple other things. Keeping Jeff Kent when he was slumping. Well, look at Carlos. Jeff Kent's one of your best players. You don't bench your second best player. You want him to put on the bench when he's slumping in the World Series. Nobody does that. Nobody. Name me an instance of a superstar, and Jeff Kent was a superstar, by the way. You may not like his personality, I don't, but Marty does belong in the Hall of Fame. He also had to deal with Snyder. Yeah, only 1 year though. He was out of there. Oh, Spanos out in San Diego. Mets train wrecks are fun. That's a good point, Neil. Good morning, Neil, by the way. Good to have you with us this morning. Speaking of the Jets, where I don't know where Billy's been. Billy's been boycotting the show. I think he's mad at me. I don't know. No, I don't know. He's probably traveling. You know, Billy, he's like Waldo. We don't know where he'll pop up next. Mets' longest losing streak is 3 games. Well, that's enough for the sky to fall for Met fans, Alan. You know, best players, where are we? Best players, best pitchers, best hitter, best coaches do not win the World Series. I am not sure what that even means. What does win then? Best team. You know, it's Carlos. We've had this discussion before. Just because you're the best player, and if this is the argument you're making, I've said I don't care about like guys like Aaron Rodgers. I want leaders on my team. And part of the problem with the Giants is I don't think they had great leaders on those teams. You know, Jeff Kent, Barry Bonds, great players. I wouldn't say they're great leaders. Thank you, Drew. Let's get back to the standings. I don't know about Philadelphia. Philadelphia is starting to come back to earth. Rob Thompson, they got off to a great start. And where are they now? I think they're falling to 7 games behind. Listen, everybody's alive for a wild card. I mean, I'm listening to guys talk about I don't even know who it was. Some pretty bad teams and how they were like the Marlins. Marlins are, I don't know, 6 or 7 games out of the wild card. I did move myself up here where I could see better, didn't I? Where are they? I mean, I think I can pull up the wild card standings. Let's take a look real quick. I mean, what do you consider in contention? Phillies are. They're only 2.5 games out, but the Marlins are 6 games back, and that's starting to be borderline to me. It's not like, and by the way, the Marlins got the best pitcher in baseball in my mind, and this is a team that's starting to gel. So I may have just convinced myself to go your route here, Drew, and maybe believe in the Marlins because I want to see Donnie Baseball do well. So, and listen, I want to see Rob Thompson do well. Rob Thompson has been a loyal baseball man for many, many years. And I do think that he possibly has been, he could keep this job. I don't know if he's got to get the Phillies to the playoffs. If they continue to play the type of baseball they've played since he was hired, I think he'll probably keep the job. Problem is, I'm not confident the Phillies can. That defense is still atrocious. And it's going to kill you. It's going to bite you too many times. Bryce Harper's out. I know that the Philly sports guy was saying on Mac and Jack the other day that he may come back sooner than you think. Listen, I don't care when he comes back. Thumb surgery during a season for a hitter is a major, major thing to worry about. I'm not sure what Carlos. I'm not sure where you are. Should be so the Yankee. So let me get this straight. The Yankees are failures because they should have won 30 some and only won 27. Who's second, Carlos? How bad are they? You don't know. We don't know. The Marlins are starting to come together. Single digits back in wild card at All-Star break is a decent. It is that, but that's the problem. The problem with the expanded play here, and this all ties together, right? With buyers and sellers and the guys available, because there's going to be fewer guys available for the people that want to buy, because there's going to be fewer sellers, because they're going to fool themselves into thinking they have a chance to win a World Series or even make the playoffs. Now, I'm not saying, again, I think the Marlins 6 games back, playing decent baseball, best pitcher in baseball. Got some really good young guys. They're missing Chisholm right now, who's really had a breakout season, I think, for them. But the ripple effect of all these teams thinking they have a chance is there's fewer sellers, and the asking price for guys who are being sold is going to is going to show, and it's going to cost a fortune. If the Yankees want to go out and try to get Brian Reynolds, it's going to cost a fortune, because there's going to be other teams, whether it's right and whoever we're talking about, right? Cardinals with 11. There you go. Thank you, Rick. So the Yankees are abject failures because they've only won 27 World Championships. According to Carlos. Alcantara cannot be the only one carrying this squad. I didn't say he was the only one carrying the squad. They've got some other good young pitchers. I said he was the best pitcher in baseball. That's what I said. And I believe that. They got some good young kids playing scrappy baseball. There are certainly plenty of instances of teams that have, played well. So the Marlins may be one team, as Drew mentioned, that could be somebody to watch out for, making a bit of a run here in the second half. Don't forget the early the Marlins won the World Series against the Yankees in 2003. They were nowhere, fired their manager, and made a run, made a wild card, and beat Dusty Baker. No, I think that was Felipe Alou by that time. I believe in 2003, Felipe Alou was already the manager of the Giants. And then beat my Yankees in a World Series. I sit on this pulpit and claim that Cashman hasn't won in a long time. I agree. I do sit on this pulpit. But you're talking about history, 27. I'm not telling you that they should have won World Series with the teams they've had put together in the years that I've bashed Cashman for. They have not had World Series winning teams because they've been badly put together. Cashman's getting all kinds of kudos for this year. Well, he better hope that Joey Gallo and Aaron Hicks doesn't submarine this team. Proof's in the pudding. Well, I didn't know we were in the cliche hour, but that's good. I'm not sure. Best team does not always win the World Series trophies. I agree, which is one of the reasons I don't want more teams in the playoffs. Let's finish up the standings. The Brewers and the Cardinals continue to go back and forth. They're kind of treading water. The Brewers 6-4 the last 10. The Cardinals, here I am back in the wrong thing again. The Cardinals 5-5. That'll probably be a dogfight down to the wire. And out west, got out of my divisions here. So out west, you got a great race with the Dodgers and the Padres. They're playing this weekend. And the Dodgers have had their way so far. A big game, I think, this weekend for the Padres, or today for the Padres. Having gone in there and lost the entire series so far, fallen 4.5 games behind. The Giants have fallen 8.5 games behind. And the Dodgers have moved they've moved ahead of the Mets. I misspoke earlier. The Mets lost on Friday. The Mets had the best record in the National League. Today, they do not. So anyway, let's move on to a couple other topics in baseball real quick. Because hold on, we got more comments here. San Diego is, both of them, as I said, are temporarily swooning for sure. Could this be the Padres versus Tampa? Could what? Could this? Why? They're both. Tampa's playing really bad baseball. I don't know why you think Tampa would have any chance right now. Team's hitting about 225 as a group. Their pitching and defense has kept them in game. It kept them alive to this point. But that team better worry about just making the playoffs. Dodgers have picked up 4 games on both in the last 10. Good point. I thought I had something else here. I can't get that one to go. I don't know what that is. Oh, that's Carlos. Sorry, Carlos. That was your pick last year. Well, that didn't work out too good. Give me the A's every week so the wins can come easy. That's a good point as we move on from the standings here. What time we got? 10:11. We got enough time to talk about a few things. The A's and the state of California talking about building the A's a waterfront stadium. Why? Why would you build the A's a stadium? Just let them move. The fans in Oakland have never in history supported the A's. They won 3 World Series in a row in the 70s, and their average attendance was probably about 11,000 a night. They put people in the stands for the playoffs, but don't think you can maintain a team on that type of thing. Major League Baseball is just not Major League Baseball, but the state of California is crazy if they think they need to keep the A's from going to Las Vegas or wherever they think they want to move. Let them go to Vegas. Let them go to Nashville. And that brings me to my next topic. We got a couple of comments here before I move on. Oakland is Tampa in the West. No. Well, not right now. They're not. And again, you know what, Drew? I don't know that I necessarily agree with the comment. I get where you're coming from, but Tampa's been much more successful in the postseason than the A's have been. I mean, they approach team building the same way, but kind of like the Rams and Chargers now. Yeah. Without the good records. Here you go. Listen, this does play into my next topic here. So talking about, oh shit, damn it. Now I can't find my, hold on. I just rearranged my whole thing because I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing here. Talk about Rob Manfred real quick. He wants to expand. I just talked about 2 franchises, Tampa Bay, Oakland, definitely are teams that probably ought to be looked to be relocated. And Rob Manfred wants to expand to 32 teams. There's not enough talent in the league for 30 teams. The pitching staffs are terrible at the back end of them. Back end of rotations are terrible. Back end of bullpens are terrible. The benches aren't as good as they used to be. There's a dearth of quality Major League Baseball players. Listen, the guys that are good are better than ever. But this league does not need to be expanding to 32 teams now or in the near future. Now, when you've got teams that need new stadiums to be propped up, I mean, look, and the Marlins I'll throw in here. Marlins built a brand new, beautiful stadium in Miami. I drive by every time I'm going to the airport. And how many people are at those games? They thought that was a perfect place to go. They get the Cuban community to come. Remember, they hired Isaac Guillen, thinking that was going to be a draw. This team can't. They are not fiscally sound in Miami. They're not fiscally sound in Tampa. Florida does not support baseball teams. Oakland has never supported that team. I could probably come up with other examples if I wanted to look hard enough. But there's 3 or 4 examples right now of teams that you need to put in better markets, whether it's Nashville, whether it's Charlotte, whether it's Vegas. Don't be expanding to 32 teams. What do you got here? Oh, lock of support. Okay, my bad. Drew, I had you out of context. So you're absolutely right. And I throw Miami in there. Tampa actually plays in a dome and has about 1,000 more fans. What? 3,000 instead of 2,000? Please don't tell me Tampa is a better market and supports their team better than the A's, because they don't. And whatever. Tampa's a better track record in the East the last 5 years. Again, he's talking about attendance. I'm talking about being able to be fiscally sound in the market that you're in. It's got nothing to do with winning and losing. Nothing. The fans don't support the team. The fans don't deserve the team. Get out of Oakland, get out of Tampa, get out of Miami, and go to Nashville or Charlotte, places that are dying for baseball. Oh, that's who you were talking about. Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. Sorry to throw that one in there. But, well, yeah, we could talk. I did see that, and it is a sad thing. Just don't want to derail our conversation here, Rick, but that's good information. I get it. It is sad. Young life shouldn't. Major League Baseball should expand, but no, they should not. No, they should not expand. Again, you can't support the markets that you're in. Or the markets won't support the teams that they're in. You don't expand in this situation. We're not going to go to this, European soccer situation. We're not going to have that. How about we keep playing a game we're playing, Carlos? We had this conversation Friday, and we'll continue to have it. You don't care anything about the history of the game. You don't care anything about the integrity of maintaining the integrity of what the core of the game is. You don't care. You just want to blow it all up and turn it into European soccer. Go watch European soccer. No, the area for the Rangers is good. And I don't know. I wouldn't throw the Rangers, I don't think, into this conversation as far as support. Alan, I really wouldn't. Oh, my God. Carlos, you got to get real. You've got to get real. Again, one of the beauties about baseball compared to other sports is the fact that it's a marathon. It's the fact that you play every day for 5 months, 6 months. And it's a battle of attrition in a lot of cases. Who can withstand that grueling schedule? Plus the money involved. There are too many playoff teams, I agree. Expansion will dilute an already a thin league, agreed. And then they'll just put more teams in the playoffs. It's not fiscally justified, Drew. It's a horrendous idea, especially when you got teams you need to get into better locations to be fiscally sound. Sorry, Carlos, what do you got there? Make baseball competitive and exciting to watch. Yeah, you know how I can make baseball exciting to watch again, Carlos? Play it the way it's meant to be played. Stop swinging for home runs on every play, and let's stop strikeout. Let's stop this ugly trend of. Drew had coined a great phrase when we were doing our preview show. I don't know if he coined it. If it is your phrase, congratulations, Drew. If you copped it from someplace else, whatever. It's a great phrase. The three ultimate outcomes, I think you'd said, and I'm probably paraphrasing, so you can certainly post it. Home run, strikeout, or walk. Nothing happens in baseball for, 30% of the game. Look at how many games there are with 7 pitchers and, 15 strikeouts. And hitting into shifts. We're going to change the rules so the shift doesn't become. Don't tell me the players aren't good enough to adjust. If the players aren't good enough to adjust, they don't belong in the major leagues. But you want to fundamentally change the game. You should love Rob Manfred. You probably are going to love the robo umpires that are going to come in 2024 if Rob Manfred gets his way. Take the human element right out of the game. Why don't we just play it on a computer? Why don't we take the players? We'll use Drew. We'll just put together Stratomatic cards for the coming season, and we'll play it all on a computer. Why even play the games? Listen, Oklahoma's done a great job supporting the Thunder. I'm not sure about baseball there. I'd have to look deeper into that. I'm not sure. I didn't say the Premier League wasn't very successful, Carlos. The two things don't have anything to do with each other. Major League Baseball as a whole is very successful and has been for 150 years. We don't need to blow the whole thing up and turn it into something nobody recognizes. I know history means nothing to you. History means nothing to you. Speak up, guys. I need help. Even in the league I'm not a big fan of interleague play either. We talked about this a couple of times this week on some shows I was on about why the interest in all-star games are down. And first of all, they're played like a circus anyway. But the fact that we got interleague play and you see these guys play every night, and when I was a kid, the only time I got to see the National League or even American League teams, because I only got Yankee games about 10 or 15 times a year, was to watch the All-Star game. Carlos, I am not spending any more time. Where's more money generated, Carlos, in the Caribbean or here in the States? Let those guys go play for peanuts in the Caribbean. Oh, God, Carlos, you and your proof is in the pudding. There's no more successful baseball league in the world than the Major League Baseball. Please. Is soccer big? Is the Premier League good? Yeah, it's soccer. It's not baseball. Look at what numbers. Numbers proof that the only World Series get numbers. You're talking about eyeballs on the TVs? Totally different. Whatever. Again, if the game were played the way the game is supposed to be played, the eyeballs would still be there. If the games didn't get over at midnight, I can't do it. Need more pitchers and fewer throwers. Good point. Perfect. And maybe stretch them out so they can pitch more than 80 pitches, and we got to get them out in the 5th inning. Don't blame Perez for the fact he only pitches 5 or 6 innings when that's what he's been programmed to do since he started pitching, probably. Sports viewership is down overall for a lot of reasons because of the expanded choices that people have today. It's probably going to continue to go down when it becomes streaming and you've got to pay for everything a la carte. I said, Carlos, that there were too many bad players in Major League Baseball now. I did not say that I wanted to radically change the system to play like the Premier League in soccer. I don't want 2 more teams because we don't need them. We need to relocate the teams that aren't sound now. Don't be putting words in my mouth. That sounded like a threat, didn't it? Get my name out of your mouth, Carlos. We have a AAA team which is doing well. I'd have to dig into that, Alan, before I made an educated comment. I'm going to get through your comments. I wanted to talk about Bobby Bonilla Day. Maybe we'll bring that up during Mancini's. You can boycott Apple TV, but it's not going to do you any good because if you want to watch the games that are on Apple TV, you need Apple TV. By the way, Alan's right. If you've had to watch a game, and I have had to watch a game there, it is terrible. The production value is awful. The announcers are awful. They need to step it up. So does Peacock. Peacock's a little better. And let's see, not true. NFL has the best viewership in September, October. How about historically again, Carlos? We're talking about historically. You're telling me Major League Baseball numbers are down. NFL numbers, I guarantee you, are down from years past. Don't tell me about they're better than baseball or they're better than whatever ridiculous show NBC and ABC put on football against CBS's Thursday night game, whatever. Compare it to the years past. And it's not fair to do that. I understand. There were 3 networks 40 years ago. I know. We're going to talk the NBA a little bit with Mancini. Stick around, Drew. I know that might be painful for you, but I live in a shell. I do live in a shell. Yes, I do. Baseball's suffering because of the people running it, because they're changing the game when it doesn't need to be changed. They fix things that are broken. Speed up the game. That's all you need to do. And play the game the way it's meant to be played. You don't listen, Carlos. That's your problem. Pandemic didn't help, of course. Zion Williamson, I want to get into this. I was going to wait for Mark to get here, but we'll start talking about it now. Zion Williamson signs for $193 million over 5 years. Bradley Beal signed a huge contract with the Wizards. James Harden's probably going to sign a huge contract with the Sixers. I don't think this is a good thing for the NBA, by the way. And Devin Booker signed a big contract with the Suns, where we'll talk about Kevin Durant in a second. He's looking to get his way out of here to Phoenix would be his preferred destination. The Nets are under no obligation to get him where he wants to go, by the way. But I don't know if this is good for the NBA or good for these teams. I'll make sure I don't miss Mark popping in here. Sun's in my way a little bit. Because think about Washington. If you got good teams already and you can offer a guy the max contract, I mean, it's a little different with Harden and the Sixers than it is with Beal and the Wizards. Sixers have some other good players to kind of build around. There's nothing. The cupboard's bare in Washington, and you aren't going to be able to build around Bradley Beal because of the contract you put in front of him. Soccer. Look, soccer is exciting in this country when the World Cup comes around. That's about it. My comments are probably way behind here, so I apologize. Apple trying new things. It's not working. We know that. The contract is worth it. Look at Zion. If he stays healthy, and I think there's some worries about him eating himself out of the league, right? The guy shouldn't look like me. But Zion's a great player. Whether the Pelicans can put some guys around him is another question, because management is not great there. What do you got here? Huge if, Allen, which is the the if about Zion staying healthy. Exactly right. It's a huge if with anybody. The contracts people get on Major League Baseball, but look at the contracts. You got guys that are making an average of $50 million
in Pittsburgh on Tuesday and Wednesday.
Hang on 1 second. I think we're back.
Okay.
I think we're back here, guys. Hopefully we had a little glitch there. I apologize. Last week, I know we had a huge glitch. I know I told some of you that I wasn't seeing it, and I didn't when I checked it out. But after the show I watched, and we had some huge buffering problems. But this should have been the first problem we had here. Let's see. Yes. Frozen Keith is a silent Keith. Probably good for everybody that I went silent for a little while there after that last diatribe. So anyway, we want to welcome in. Let me get your picture up here, Mark, since you're not with us. Hold on. Oh, I lost it. Anyway, let's put up the banner for Mr. Mancini. We have Mark Mancini on the line. Say good morning, Mark, while I'm doing this.
Well, this is a show that's sweeping the country, whether it's a holiday or anything. It's the most must-see, must-hear radio show. And you're the host that's driving this train, man. So blessed to be a part of it.
Well, we appreciate that. And then we got a couple topics, and we'll start. I want to start in the NBA because that's what we were talking about when you popped in here. And I'll try to keep up with the comment guys as much as I can here. We were talking about some of the big astronomical extensions that have been signed, and some of them that, the teams are going to have trouble building around when guys are making $50 million a year with a salary cap issue. Bradley Beal's one guy that comes to my mind out in Washington. But I also want to talk about the Kevin Durant situation with you as well. So what are your thoughts about the huge amounts of money being thrown around by NBA teams in this whole situation?
First of all, when you look at the NBA today, it's kind of, looking like it's going off a cliff. And I could be the only guy that says that, kind of like the way I look at the 2020 Los Angeles Dodgers winning a championship, or the Tampa Bay Lightning the first year that they played the Montreal Canadiens when they didn't have to play a Western team for the Stanley Cup. So I'm going to lay it where it is. I grew up with the Sky Hook and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and the Milwaukee Bucks. I've seen dynasties with the Sixers, the Celtics, the Lakers. Then it transformed into the Bulls. The Warriors situation's great. I had an interview with Scott Howard Cooper that wrote a book with Steve Kerr on that dynasty, 4 titles in 8 years. But other than that, this NBA, man, is something to scratch your head on. Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant have been in more hotels than most stewardesses have. They stay in a city. They want to get traded. I have no respect for either one of those guys. Kevin Durant is not the top 50 or top 75 in my book as far as the greatest NBA players. I can bring a lot more to the equation than what he's done. Wow. He had a good thing in Golden State. He walked away from it, thought the green was better in New Jersey, and you see what's going on there. Now he wants to go to Phoenix, he wants to go to the Lakers. And the Lakers, that's another head scratcher, trying to bring Kyrie Irving. Don't these guys not only burn bridges wherever they go, they blow them up, and you can't go back over after you blow up a bridge.
Well, first to focus, I'll focus on that last thing first. I mean, if Kyrie really wanted to go to LA, he wouldn't have opted in, because the Lakers can't afford to pay him more than $8 million. So he wouldn't have opted into his player option for $37 million. All he can get out there, if he really wants to go out there and help and try to win with LeBron again, he would have just gone out there and taken the $8 million they offered. He didn't. And as far as Durant goes, here's the thing about Durant. I don't agree with your opinion that, he's not a top 75 player. He's one of the best players in the history of the game. Is he one of the great winners or leaders in the history of the game? Absolutely not, because he the only place he's won, and the Warriors winning this year helps diminish his legacy even further. The fact that they won without him. And people like to compare and say, well, LeBron jumps around teams and he looks to go to better situations. But the difference to me is LeBron's gone to every one of those teams and been the leader of that team when he got there. Kevin Durant isn't. If Kevin Durant were a leader, he would have got Kyrie in line 2 years ago.
Well, here's the thing. And the league is watered down in more ways than one, if you ask me. You can't compare these guys to the 80s and 90s of the NBA, first of all, because that same argument can be brought up to the forefront. If you go back 52 years in baseball, there's never been a team from 1970 to now that's better than the Cincinnati Reds of 1976, when they should have every member of that team be an all-star position player.
They almost did.
So, I mean, and that same argument can be brought up. Well, I can bring the Yankees or the Mets and all these guys. That'd be a harder comparison, because that 76 team was unfriggin' believable. Nobody's compared to that in 52 years.
Yeah. And the NBA tries to do the same thing. I think, listen, the NBA, and Neil brings up a point that all these players are selfish and they don't care about the team pride or anything. In a way, I agree. If all you're worried about is getting yours, then it's going to be hard to put a good team together. The Warrior model, though, is something that I think you're going to see more teams kind of follow. I think Oklahoma City, Alan was talking about Sam Presti there. I think the Grizzlies are trying to follow that model a little bit. And, you know, where you draft your core, you keep your core, and then you kind of fill in around them. And
well, the problem with the NBA is, Keith, is I think what's turned off a lot of people, there's no defense being played. It's getting too political. And there's no dynasties other than this Warrior team that's pretty much running away with it. But when you look at the Brooklyn situation, people get turned off by that. They're not interested in the super team no more. We saw a super team put together out here with Bryant and God rest his soul and Shaq and Malone and Payton and nothing happened with that. And these quick fixes don't work. They don't work across the board, and that's the big problem. And I know people say, well, you know, everything goes in cycles and everything. It's going to take a long cycle to get the NBA back to where it was in the 80s and 90s.
You know, it's funny. Carlos is telling me that Durant is a great player, which I agree with, but he doesn't need to be a leader. We have this conversation all the time about leaders. Every team needs a leader, and your best player ought to be your leader. And Kevin Durant is not. And he's telling me that every team knows that he's not, and they don't care. Well, that tells me they don't want to win. They just want his 25 points a game. Do you want to win championships, or do you want one of the top 10 players of all time just on your court in your uniform? If you're not in it to win it, why are you there? Right?
Harden and Durant in Oklahoma City, that was their best chance. They didn't do nothing. Then we saw Durant go to Golden State and basically go back and forth with Draymond Green. Look what the Warriors had done with Green, Thompson, Curry, and then the setback with Thompson. I mean, you know, they could have blown Green out of there. They kept Green. Durant wanted to get out of there. And you look at it, and when I look at this guy, you know, there's no way this guy's as good as a Larry Bird, a Kevin McHale. I mean, you can go down the list, and you know, if you want to look at a guy that can put in points that was deadly, give me Bernard King, give me Reggie Theus, give me some of these guys. And if I had to take a chance between Pete Maravich and Kevin Durant, I'm taking Pete Maravich 7 days a week.
Well, I'm going to have to disagree with you in the fact that any of those guys are better than Kevin Durant, but not all of them, but at least, especially the Celtic guys you mentioned, were definitely better team players and leaders. And if you don't want to win, you just want guys to perform, well, then bring Kevin Durant in. Let's send him to New Orleans, let him score 35 points a game, and that'll be that. And they won't win anything. So, you know, I just don't get it.
Well, I look at Kevin Durant, and I can get ripped on it, and that's okay. I look at Kevin Durant like I look at Latrell Sprewell. Could score, but he comes with a lot of problems, and I don't want to subject my team with that kind of problems. I don't care how, you know, I look at character, integrity over talent. Talent you can develop to a certain extent, but you can't, you know, develop the character and integrity. You're brought up with that and born with it. So in my book, Kevin Durant to me is Latrell Sprewell. And comes with a lot of problems.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I don't know that he comes with the same kind of problems as Latrell Sprewell, but again, to Carlos is making a point that we're trying to make things out of players that are not there. Carlos, you cannot argue the fact Kevin Durant has never won a championship without Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green backing him up. And excuse me, I don't think he was backing up Steph Curry in my mind. And Steph Curry, by the way, to be honest with you, Steph Curry showed what a great player he is and what a great leader he is, because he took a step back when Durant joined that team, and he deferred to Durant a lot of times. That's why that team was great, not because of Kevin Durant, because of Steph Curry and his leadership and his ability to say, I can let this guy try to be the man. I don't have to be the man every night.
Well, and Durant has that thing like Kyrie Irving has, you know, the me, myself, and I type of belief. Look at how many bridges and that Kyrie's blown up. Cleveland, Boston. I mean, he's going all over the place. you know, and Harden's another one. You can throw Harden in that. Things running threes.
Right.
Harden would be a third guy that I would say that, you know, he wears out his welcome. You know, people talking about coaches wearing out their welcome. You know, Tom Thibodeau or John Tortorella now with Philadelphia, the Flyers. But there's players that wear out their welcome too. And these guys, when
Sure they do.
you know, the consistent pattern that they show and develop is kind of, you know, beholden to the eye.
Yeah, and Carlos's latest statement is teams, you need followers just as much as you need leaders. But the Nets are a perfect example. This was a colossal failure, this experiment, and it's because nobody stood up to lead this team. You can have followers. I don't disagree you need followers, but if there's nobody to lead them, they're just going to follow in circles. And that's what happened.
Well,
That's what happened
like
in Brooklyn.
Pat Riley coaching them or something, you know, it'd be a whole different ball game. That's a coach that turned programs around wherever he's been, you know. But I'm getting excited, you and I, man, in the Berg. The Bash and the Birds, the hot Yankees coming in starting Tuesday.
Let's talk real quick.
Wednesday.
I'm sure it'll be an exciting time, and we'll pack the stadium for you in Pittsburgh. We'll help you out there, so you're welcome.
Well, let me tell you, I catch a lot of flack, but my Pirates, man, is starting 6 rookies. These guys, you got the cruise missile there in Pittsburgh. You got Castillo. You got some guys. I mean, let me tell you something. I feel great about my Pirates in 2 years than I would feel about the Angels with all the money bags they have that can't seem to get a pitching staff in order. So I like Pittsburgh's chances, man. I really do.
Well,
I mean, you see what happens. They get blown out one day, they come back and they blow the team right out the next day. They did that with Chicago earlier in the year when they got beat. I think it was 21-0, and they beat the Cubs the next day. Here they get beat 19-2. They come rolling back and roll the Brewers 7-4. So I feel good. This team, you know, they'll take their lumps, but they're going to come back and give you their best shot too.
Well, I agree that, you know, they played some scrappy baseball, and I thought early in the year they made some good moves, you know, locking up a couple of their younger players. But now the rumors are back that they're seriously considering, and if they trade him, I'm sure they will get a good haul for him. The Yankees especially, and I'm sure there'll be other teams, because the sellers, by the way, it's going to be a seller's market because more teams are going to be buying than selling in Major League Baseball. The Pirates considering trading Brian Reynolds, who was, I believe, an all-star last year and had a great season. The Yankees are very interested, and this kind of was on the table earlier in the year, died out as Reynolds started to play better because he got off to a bad start. But now it's come up again, and there seems to be some teeth to this that Brian Reynolds may be on his way out of Pittsburgh before the trading deadline.
Well, you guys already got 3 ex-Pirates over there in New York. I don't need to see a fourth go, but I think the one guy that was rumored to go, I think it was the 1-year deal with, I believe it was Quintana, was supposed to go. So I'd be totally against that. This kid's young. You got to lock up him, which they did, and Brian Hayes. But then you got Cruz and Castillo and all those Sawinski, which is, like I said about a month ago, that I'm throwing my hat in it. It's lock, stock, and barrel. He's the rookie of the year. 3 Pirates, 3 home runs. That's a major league record, what they accomplished in June. So I think if the pitching can come around to keep up with now the bats, this team's going to be dangerous in the next couple of years.
Well, time will tell about that. And the Yankees certainly need to make some moves, because even with the best record in baseball and on their way to 116, 18 wins, whatever it's going to be, they still need to be able to win in the playoffs. And I just don't think they can do it with that hole in left field and center field and Gallo.
Well, this team reminds me of the 2019 Dodgers. I think they won the division by 25 games. No competition until they played a team that was playing playoff baseball in August and September that rolled them in October, and that was the Washington Nationals. Mm-hmm. The Yankees have been, tearing up the division and blowing it out, but, you got to be careful now with the Red Sox, the Blue Jays, the Astros know they can play with the Yankees. You got Cleveland over there, Minnesota, that when they get in the playoffs, they tend to go off the cliff as well. But these are teams, if they come in hot, and we're not even counting the Tampa Bay team that can come in there rolling at the thing. They come in there, and the Yankees aren't bringing that, 15-game lead, that they won in the regular season to the playoffs, these teams can roll you. And it's scary to think that if you open up and it doesn't matter with the home field, you get a Toronto, you get a Houston, they can go in your backyard and beat you.
Good point. Let's shift gears a little bit. I'm going to dive into this a lot more Wednesday night on the college football huddle, but we've talked a little bit about it today. And,
I got to get back on that thing. I'll probably get in there a week from Wednesday, man. I love that college football. And boy, I think I know where you're going with this one.
Well, the college football landscape is ablaze again in my mind. The forest fire just keeps getting bigger with USC and UCLA. Shocking to me. I guess I shouldn't be shocked anymore, but the Big Ten was not a place I had USC and UCLA heading towards. And there's a couple of things here. First of all, I think we're heading towards a ruination. College football is never going to be the same again. We're heading towards two super conferences. The Pac-12's in trouble. The Big 12's in trouble. The ACC's in trouble unless they make some kind of major changes. And by the way, for the Big Ten, after last year, a year ago, when Oklahoma and Texas had said they were making their move to the SEC, the ACC, the Big Ten, the Big 12 got together as an alliance and said, we want to keep this stuff from happening. We're going to keep people informed about what we're going to do going forward. And we're going to work in tandem to play more games against each other and also keep ourselves apprised of what we're doing as leagues. And then the Big Ten spends not the next year, but the last 3 months sneaking around that alliance's back to bring UCLA and USC to the Big Ten.
Well, first of all, let's look at it. I mean, if you're in the Big Ten, you're pretty much guaranteed about $64 million each school. If you're in the Pac-12, I think it's 28 or 30, so you're almost doubling your money. But I said this a long time ago. The only thing I like about college football is if you're a top 10 team, I need to see a top 10 schedule. If I can't have that, this is the next best thing, because now I'm going to get Michigan, getting Ohio State in the backyards of USC, UCLA. You can get, Penn State. Who knows if they bring Notre Dame into the Big Ten now? That can be interesting. As far as the Pac-12 is concerned, I think the next domino to fall, and he's got a lot of money, he can write his own ticket as Phil Knight and get Oregon out of the Pac-12, and then you might as well just let the Pac-12 fall in the Pacific.
Well, I
can care less if you bring San Diego State into the equation.
Yeah.
Covered them for years, loved the school, but nobody's going to go see a San Diego State, a Fresno State, play a Cal or a Stanford. Nobody cares. And that's the problem now. Who cares about the travel going back to these schools, USC, UCLA? Now you're getting marquee matchups. You're getting primetime games. And it's not a forgotten conference that it was before, that the East Coast didn't even know what was going on the West Coast after 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
Well, still bad for the college landscape. There's a lot of losers in this case, because right now Oregon and Utah are huge losers in the Pac-12, because they're going to have no shot at the college playoff once this happens, unless they make moves of their own, which probably will happen by 2024. Yeah, because the Pac-12 will be irrelevant. They could run the table, and they're not going to have a chance at the playoff. The team.
Well, it's going to be like the Big Sky Conference. Nobody cares. I mean, you're going to have teams over there that, now you won't even come into Southern California. So Washington, Oregon are going to have to go, Stanford, and then they'll go down to Arizona and stuff like that. And whoever, if you bring in, the Colorados and the Utahs and stuff like that. But the interesting thing is, the horse is out of the barn, and now the Pac-12 is locking the doors. You should have done this, years ago and solidified your conference. They didn't solidify the conference. They didn't have a Pac-12 network. People couldn't get it and all this stuff. So this is what's happening now. You're absolutely right. You got the SEC, the Big Ten, and these schools are going to, stand here. And you got to thank Notre Dame. You got to thank, Texas, that basically came out with the TV contracts. So you're seeing the demise of the NCAA. And now with these super conferences going, now people are going to get excited. I say the same thing with Major League Baseball. If you want to take some hints, look what college baseball is doing. It's exciting. People are getting behind it. That's what you need to do, is study that and use it in your own game.
Right. I'm going to switch gears on you one more time because Drew brings up a good point. I promised to talk about Freddie Freeman today, and I think you're a good guy to talk about it with since your hatred of the LA Dodgers. The Freddie Freeman story to me is taken on some just awful, there's sad ramifications in my mind. Freddie Freeman's a guy who's everything that's right about sports, everything that's right about Major League Baseball. He should have played his entire career in Atlanta, and the Yankees, by the way, should use this as a cautionary tale when it comes to Aaron Judge. And it turns out Freddie Freeman could have done just that, but and I blame, look at, he's got to take some blame here for not knowing what his agent was or was not telling him. But if the Braves actually came back with an offer that Freddie said I would have taken, then his agent, I'm sure there's malpractice for these guys. And to me, there has to be some repercussions other than Freddie Freeman just firing his agent for not representing his wishes the right way.
Accountability, communication, and integrity I run with. And when you look at that second word, communication, there was no communication there. The agent should have been contacting, Freddie. Sad he was in Atlanta 12 years. You want to finish your career there. He was beloved. So he takes the money. He comes out to L.A. Now he's thinking twice, and he's getting a little flack on it, too. I don't know why he is getting flack on it.
Why? Because he spoke his mind. He was honest. That's all he was honest.
Yeah, that's all he did was speak his mind and be honest, and then people rip you, and we've seen how that's gone these last few years with the way the country's going. But that's a story for another day. But, I like Freddie Freeman a lot. I mean, I really do. But, somewhere along the line, the negotiations broke down. They went after Olsen. They let him go. His only shot, it looked like, was the Dodgers, because he was from out here. So he signed with the Dodgers. But I will tell you this, as much as I hate these guys, the Dodgers, I got to give them credit, man. I never saw this coming. 19-1 combined, Gosselin and Anderson, and they're smoking the Padres, and I had the Padres to win this division. It's not over.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about, winning the division, you got to kind of beat the team that's ahead of you. And if you're 1-5 against that team, that's not too good. And you lost 14 of your last 15 with these guys. So you got to turn the corner. I'm disappointed in the Padres. You can't sit here and, somebody's got to step up other than Manny Machado.
Yeah. And listen, Freddie Freeman's been a big part of this Dodger success as well. So, Carlos is here commenting how, he did what he did. He did what he did without all the information, Carlos. That's the problem here. And the problem, I fault the Braves too for staying out of this for so long, and they waited till the 12th hour, the 11th hour to make that offer.
I kind of look at it like that live thing with golf. I mean, everybody faults and says, well, Mickelson and all these guys, it's dirty money, it's this and that. But I mean, if somebody offers you $300-something million, you're not going to stand there and say, well, dude, I don't know about this, man. You're married, you got 3 hookers on the side. I don't know if I could sign this $330 million contract.
Right.
I mean, I don't know why these golfers are getting ripped too. That's another demise. That whole thing, is falling apart too. And now people are getting paid for what they're worth.
Yeah, in a sports washing environment, really, you're gonna I am not going to defend these guys for leaving the PGA. The PGA, I get but to go there and play with a league that's backed by a terrorist nation, and they're just trying to sports wash their reputation. It's ridiculous that these guys will let themselves and let their names be lent to this. I think it's sad. And they should be embarrassed.
Well, I think I think in some ways you can kind of coincide with the NCAA if guys are standing here and losing their royalties and everything on the name of a jersey, but the coaches are making big money and the school's making big money. That would be another argument as far as the fact that that ain't fair either. And now I'm glad to see these guys have Ed O'Bannon opened up that can of worms. And basically say, hey, wait a minute, man, that's unconstitutional here.
Well,
how can somebody make money on my name when I can't even make money on my name?
Again, 2 totally different situations, and the Live Golf League is something that is dirty blood money, and those guys should be staying away from it, and they just won't. Anyway, Mark, what do you got going on this week? We got to wrap it up quick here.
Well, the Pirate Podcast tomorrow, as we preview the Yankees coming in and taking over and invading Pittsburgh. And then on Friday we do that. Philadelphia show. Looks like Craig Elo coming through.
Oh, interesting.
So that should be a dandy. Craig Elo, the sharpshooter. I don't think he's sending Christmas cards to Michael Jordan.
No, I don't think either way.
XM Sirius. And then, hey, man, I'm jumping back in here a week from Wednesday on that college show, buddy.
All right, good. We'll be happy to have you. So, Mark, you have a great, great holiday weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.
You too. I love you, brother. Stay safe. The best show on the network.
All right, have a great one. Bye-bye. Great. So Mark Mancini from Mancini Media. Real quick, guys. I can't go over because I went over last week. I couldn't share my show to Roku. Couple minutes. I want to finish up on this Freddie Freeman thing. Carlos, you're absolutely off base on all of this. All of this. If Atlanta wanted him, they could have paid him. Atlanta made an offer that Freddie said he would have accepted. His agent didn't bring it to him. That is negligence at its worst. If you're a sports agent, sports lawyer, whatever you want to call this guy who's even the firm that's representing him. He says it didn't happen. Freddie's got information that says it did. Freddie Freeman is a Dodger, and he's going to stay a Dodger. He can't just leave. Atlanta can't just give him money now. And if you don't think guys like Freddie Freeman should stay, Major League Baseball and all sports should find a way for the Freddie Freemans and the Aaron Judges of the world to play their entire careers where they've built a reputation and mean something, not just to that organization, but to the community. You look at everything in a vacuum. Everything. And you can't look at things in a vacuum. You have to take into account all the factors. Freddie Freeman, I felt for Freddie Freeman. If you didn't see his interviews last week, and if you're an LA fan who doesn't want Freddie Freeman on your team, shame on you, because Freddie Freeman's one of the great players in baseball and one of the great people in baseball. Pay attention to what you got in front of you, LA fans, LA reporters. You got a great player in front of you. You should respect him and you should cherish him because he chose your organization only because his agent, by the way, didn't give him all the facts. In any event, I'm sorry I didn't get to all your comments here today, guys. I don't know what we're talking about here. Integrity, hold on. I got to put this one up real quick. If I got time, I cannot go over again. Clean money, dirty money pays the bill. So you don't care about sports washing. Maybe I missed a comment. If I did, I apologize. Integrity. I got to find this one, Carlos. Integrity has never been a part of sports. A great part of sports. Are you crazy? Are you crazy? Have you ever watched some of the great gentlemen of the game play? Whether we're talking about basketball, whether we're talking about baseball. God, even the NFL's got some people with integrity. Guys, I got to wrap it up. And I'm just like besides myself here. It's getting hot on my back, too. Guys, great having you with me. Great having all the comments. You make it a lively show. I enjoyed it. He doesn't want to be closer to home, Carlos. Pay attention. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We're over. Keith Engel, TGI Sports Talk, Sunday. Stream of Consciousness. See us on Roku at 12 o'clock today. We'll see you next Sunday with this show. We'll see you Wednesday, where we're going to dive a lot into this whole USC UCLA thing with Jim Biringer. Hopefully Larry Sorensen from Wake Forest. Find out how it affects everybody in college football and how bad it is. Keith Engel, have a great one right here on Northeast Streaming Sports.